This 2-in-1 leg press and hack squat machine by Major Fitness is freaking gnarly, dude. Today we're going to do an in-depth product review of this machine, the specs, the build quality, the pros, and the cons. So let's jump right into it. What's up, guys? Enkiri here, and I was recently offered the privilege of reviewing this sweet new piece of equipment from Major Fitness before it was even publicly launched yet, and it is their version of a 2-in-1 dual hack squat and leg press machine. So what I would like to do today is discuss some of the specs of this machine, the build quality and its features, how it's engineered, and talk about my experiences with actually using the machine and my overall impression of it. Now, before we jump into the meat of everything, I want to touch just briefly on the assembly process in here, and it was a rather involved process, I will say that. Now, there weren't that many pieces when I unboxed everything and laid it all out. I wasn't shell-shocked by the amount of parts that needed to be put together, but there was a heck of a lot of hardware that needed to be secured down, right? And some of those pieces weren't the easiest to get buttoned up and snug and bolted down. So between the 50 or 100 bolts, I have no idea how many it actually was, but it was a lot. It ended up being a little bit of a tedious process putting the whole thing together. So I initially started at 10 p.m. I called it a night at 2 a.m. and then I picked back up at noon the following day, and I had the whole thing wrapped up and assembled by 2 p.m. So that is 6 hours total of assembly time, which isn't terrible, but most of that time was just spent bolting down bolts and tightening nuts, where some of those the bolts and the nuts had limited accessibility that made it a little bit of a challenge to really get them secure. So overall, the assembly process here, it was a little bit of a challenge. Mostly it just felt a little bit tedious for me, though, just simply because of all the hardware that needed to be secured. But I got the job done, and I've been rewarded now with what I will say is a pretty daggone sweet leg press and hack squat machine. So let's talk about some of the specs and the features of it. It's got 4 weight plate storage holders on the back side of the machine, so you can store plenty of plates on it and not leave them lying around your home gym all over the place like I used to do. It also has 2 loading pins that you can add weights onto for when you're actually performing the exercises. So there's 1 loading pin on the upper portion of the machine, and then there's also a secondary smaller loading pin on the underside of the machine as well. So you should be able to get plenty of weight onto this thing without having to worry about running out of space. A pretty cool little feature that I have not seen before on a machine of this type is that it has band pegs. So now you can add accommodating resistance to your leg presses or your hack squats or whatever movement you happen to be doing, and you can focus on getting some explosive action into your lifts there. I tried that out myself for the first time ever on a movement of this type, and it was actually pretty cool. It felt pretty good. So this is a neat feature for this machine to have. Another thing I really like about this machine is that it has wheels. So it's really heavy, man. It weighs almost 300 pounds. Obviously, it's bulky as heck, and it would be hard to move this thing around. You'd have to scrape your floor up, right? But instead, they put wheels on it. So all you have to do is tilt it up by the handle, and then you can easily roll it wherever the heck you need to in your home gym. And this is awesome because if you're anything like me, you are constantly rearranging stuff within your home gym in order to maximize the space that you have. And without wheels on your equipment, you run the risk of either destroying the rubber feet on the undersides of all your pieces of equipment from constantly pushing them around all over the place, or you run the risk of destroying your floor from dragging metal equipment across it. So adding these wheels onto the machine was a really nice touch by Major Fitness. As far as setting things up for the actual exercises goes, the plate that's on the bottom of the machine, which would be the backrest if you're doing a leg press, or the foot plate if you're doing a hack squat, has 4 different angle settings that it can be set to, which is nice because this gives you options for tweaking things depending on the type of movement that you are doing. For example, I found that when I was doing standard hack squats, I preferred the foot plate to be a little bit less angled and actually closer to being in line or parallel with the floor. Not quite parallel, but a little bit closer to it. But then when I was doing reverse hack squats, I actually preferred for the foot plate to be a little bit more angled and tilted upward. So just having that option of tilting this plate up or down into all these different settings is really nice. Even within that same subcategory of exercises, I'm able to better customize things to my own preferences. And it's the same deal with the upper foot plate when you're doing leg presses. That plate can be set to 5 different angled positions. And again, this is just really nice because it gives you options in terms of how you're able to set up the movements to make them work a little bit better for you and for your build. The defining characteristic of machine exercises is that they are very rigid. And this rigidity provides stability, which can be nice, but it can also pigeonhole you into movement patterns that might not feel the greatest for you. So having some leeway here with how you can set them up is a very welcome addition. Transitioning from the leg press into the hack squat and vice versa is also very simple with this machine, as all you have to do is pull the pad off by sliding it up and out of the divots that it rests inside of. And then you can slide it into the other slot in the exact opposite fashion. Place it on top, slide the bolts in the holes, and then drop it down into the divots so that it's secure. This setup is crafty and simple. Obviously, it's not quite as stable as a pad that's been bolted down, but as far as creating a seamless transition between machine types goes, between a leg press and a hack squat, this was a really good way to do it, and you can't really feel the difference when you're lying on top of the pad or standing on top of the pad anyway. Overall, the Major Fitness 2-in-1 leg press and hack squat machine is honestly very impressive. It's very solid, it's sturdy and stable and heavy duty. There's no creaking or shaking or jankiness that occurs while you're pressing heavy weights on it, and the engineering overall is quite impressive. There are a lot of aspects that have to be considered with a 2-in-1 machine like this in terms of having the capacity to be both different types of leg machines without having one ruin the other. And this machine pulls off both very well without making sacrifices or creating a subpar movement in either category. So I'm honestly pretty impressed with it. It does have a little bit of a footprint, so it is taking up a good bit of space in my home gym, but I'm going to do my best to figure out a way to keep this thing assembled so that I can put some good work in on it because I really like it. As far as actually using the machine goes, I've tested out the leg press, the hack squat, the reverse hack squat, and then calf raises from both the leg press position and the hack squat position. Now, one thing that's really cool about this machine is how the weight sled is engineered in order to slide very smoothly and seamlessly. This is one of the first things that I really noticed once I started actually using the machine. So it's not just a hollow cylinder, right, that slides over top of a guide post or anything like that. Rather, the sled itself is equipped with nylon bearing rollers, basically wheels, and those bearings roll up and down the guideposts instead. And this makes actually using the machine feel incredibly, incredibly smooth. Essentially, you will not find a smoother feeling hack squat or a leg press machine, even amongst really expensive ones that you often see in commercial gyms. And I know I've already kind of said this, but I want to reiterate it. I actually like leg pressing on this machine, and I do not often enjoy leg pressing because the rigid machines usually feel really shitty on my hips. But with this one, I was able to tweak it in order to find a setup that worked really well for me and had my legs lit up, man. I did one set of 15 with just 180 pounds on the sled to kick things off, and I got a pretty nasty quad pump from it. I'm not gonna lie, it felt good. And the range of motion is awesome here as well. I think this is the only leg press machine I've ever used where I physically could not bottom out the machine. Of all the leg presses that I've used in commercial gyms, I can usually get a pretty good range of motion on them, but by going just a little bit deeper, I can invariably always bottom out the machine. But with this machine, I literally cannot do that. I physically cannot get this machine to bottom out, basically no matter what I do. So that's something you have to be careful of. It's really great to have the range of motion, but if you get stuck here, you're screwed. that. It is a physical impossibility. Now, this is really cool because it means that I can essentially try to go ATG. I can take my reps as deep as my anatomy allows and not be impeded by the constructs of the machine. However, this is a little bit of a double-edged sword because now I do have to take great care not to get pinned under the weight. Because if I do get pinned, there is absolutely nowhere for me to go. I cannot bottom out the machine, so there'd be no way for me to escape if I was unable to push the sled up high enough in order to reach one of the safeties. So that's just something to be cognizant of as well. But overall, I do really like this leg press, and I enjoy leg pressing on this machine. Moving on to the hack squat. Now, I typically prefer a reverse hack squat over a standard hack squat, simply due to the hip freedom that the reverse position provides. However, they are slightly different, and so both do have their place depending on one's training goals. And the reverse hack squat here on this machine feels really solid. It feels like a nice power squat movement, and it's one that I can actually push myself on and train really hard and really productively. I am a little bit obstructed with it in terms of the depth that I'm able to achieve. I do wish when I'm bottoming out the machine, I wish that I could get just a little bit more depth than I'm able to. But even without altering the machine at all or making any tweaks at all in order to let myself get more depth, it is still an acceptable range of motion for me on that reverse hack squat pattern. And it is still a movement that I can train very productively and very intensely. And the standard hack squat is a similar deal for me as the reverse hack squat is. So I'm able to bottom out the machine on the standard hack squat as well. But overall, it still feels pretty nice. I'm able to kind of train this single movement in two different ways, where I can either place my feet up high on the foot plate and keep them pretty much planted flat while getting a nice range of motion through the knees at the bottom there, or I'm able to place them low on the foot plate and let myself come up onto my toes as I squat down, really driving the knees way far forward into maximal flexion and just absolutely obliterating the VMOs. So even this here is technically just one exercise, but I can get two distinct and effective variations out of it. So that's pretty cool also. Then as far as the calf raises go, well, they're really just calf raises, man. You can make it work from either the hack squat position or the leg press position. I prefer the leg press position simply because you can let your heels drop off the bottom of the foot plate. And with that, you're able to get a really big range of motion, a big stretch on the calf muscles and the Achilles tendons. So this 2-in-1 dual leg press hack squat machine by Major Fitness is really nice, man. Like I said, it's really solid, it's really stable, it is engineered very well. It's very impressive. It's very smooth during use, and all the different adjustments that you can make on the machine allow you to set these movements up in the best way possible for you and for your particular build. So now, between a machine such as this one and that Raptor F22 Power Rack that Major Fitness sent me a few months ago, I got a pretty freaking sweet, decked out home gym, man. So what I've started doing now is figuring how I can work these different types of things into my conjugate style programming. For example, just this past week, I got in some solid pin squats using my safety squat bar on that Raptor F22 Power Rack. I think I was pretty patient. What about you? I followed that up with some jerks on my homemade jerk blocks that I built way back in 2012, if I recall correctly. Those things are holding up nicely. And then I moved on to the leg press and hack squat machine that I've been talking about in this video. And what I did there was I basically just used those leg machine movements as my volume work, but I wanted to take advantage of the multifunctional nature of the machine that they sent me. So what I did was, first I worked up to a challenging set of 15 on the standard leg press, just one single tough set there. Then I switched up the machine. I did the exact same thing with the standard hack squat, a tough set of 15. Then I switched it up again and I did the exact same thing with the reverse hack squat. I worked my way up to a challenging set of 15 reps. So I got in 3 hard volume-oriented sets for my legs to kind of move towards the end of my workout, and each one of those 3 sets was done in a different style. So that's a pretty cool perk of having access to something like this machine. You can get in multiple multiple different types of work, and it's really seamless and easy to transition from one into the other, almost as if you're working out in a fully stocked commercial gym. You're no longer being held back by the former limitations of having a home gym, which is really nice. Another attachment they recently sent me is this multifunctional handlebar, which you can see me using here in one of my recent upper body workouts, getting in some killer seated cable rows with it. This thing is pretty freaking sweet, man. So in this workout, I did 5 sets of rows, and I did not use the same grip on any of the 5 sets. I switched between different widths and different hand angle orientations on every single set. So this multifunctional handle, it has 12 different grip widths that you can set it to just by popping a little pull pin in and then in and out and sliding the handles along the way. It's very easy to change them up. It also has 6 different angles of rotation. So this means that at each respective grip width, there are 6 different types of angles that you can take there, depending on whether you want to work something that's more pronated or supinated or neutral, or some combination of these things, whatever freaking angle you feel like it. And that means that with this one handle attachment, you're getting 72 different possible grip styles that you can use, and that's freaking awesome. As you can see, it's got me really freaking excited. It's something that I want to really start taking advantage of myself in the future now that I have access to something like this. Another neat aspect of this handle is that it attaches to both a pulley, like you see me doing in this workout. It also can attach to a landmine. So this thing is really freaking versatile. Anyway, I think that is enough for today, guys. I'm loving my dual 2-in-1 leg press and hack squat from Major Fitness. I give the thing 4.5 out of 5 stars. I would give it 5 out of 5. The only reason I took off that half star is because I cannot get maximal range of motion on my hack squats or reverse hack squats without bottoming out the machine. If they fix that, I'm changing this thing to 5 stars. I'm also really loving all the innovative attachments that they've been coming up with for their power racks and all the extra versatility that's provided me in my training. They actually have a couple more innovative attachments for their racks that I wanted to get my hands on, but they didn't have any stock. So maybe I'm going to get some of those in the future. But I'm excited to see what new products that they're also going to come out with in the future. It's been cool to watch their equipment ecosystem evolve and expand over these last few months as I've been reviewing their products. I think they're even making a case for becoming a powerhouse in the home gym equipment industry in the near future. So if you're interested in grabbing any Major Fitness equipment for yourself, be sure to check out my links in the description down below. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found this review helpful. If you want to see more content like this where I review different pieces of home gym fitness equipment, please be sure to smash the like button, share the video, leave me a friendly comment down below. If you want to support the channel and my work, check out EnkiriEliteFitness.com for online coaching and training programs. And as always, keep training hard. I will catch you guys next time.